Welcome to the RMFJ podcast with your host, Rick Jones.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the RMFJ podcast. I am Rick Jones, and today I am joined by Jeff Aaron, the fish. Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Okay, so I don't know how much to intro you because a lot of people know you already, but Jeff was a sportscaster and mostly a local sportscaster up in the Northwest where I live, the Seattle area. I listened to you for years, and it's so cool to finally meet you. I met you here 2 minutes ago, and I really appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, no problem, man. I was like, why am I on the show? But I'm happy to be here.
We're going to get to that. Well, you're on the show because you're notable and you've done a lot of really cool things. You feel a lot of great experiences, and I've listened to you so much, and you've interviewed. I want to read some of the stuff that you've done. People in the Northwest would hear you on Cairo back in the day. Wayne Cody,
Right.
You're a producer for Wayne Cody. You in 1992 you did live radio at Kentucky Derby, Indy 500, the Super Bowl, All-Star Game, spring training, Seahawks camp. Working alongside Wayne Cody, who was just a legend, which is awesome. And you were hired by Pete Gross. And then KJR AM Sports Radio, sports director, became Mitch in the Morning Show, which so many of us listened to. Like it was back then. I mean, that's back then when the internet wasn't much. And so our only outlet for sports was you. So like you were the voice of that sort of thing. And then, yeah, anyways, and you, I'm going to just kind of skip ahead. We can talk about these.
Hey, it doesn't sound all that impressive now that you read it back to me.
Awesome. Are you kidding me? Interview Steven Seagal, Vanna White, Michael Strand, George Takei, Weird Al Yankovic. What is not interesting about this so far? Larry Holmes, George Foreman, Lee Trevino, Paul Allen, Pat Summerall, the band Yes, which is amazing. Best Canadian band, or one of the top two anyways. Lennox Lewis, Alyssa Milano, Elle McPherson, come on. Jim Palmer, Marv Levy, Mark Cuban, long list. And now you are living the dream down in Arizona and have some other endeavors going on. So that is a great list. Yep. Seriously, of all that stuff, and I don't mean to jump around, but I'm going to. Who was your favorite person to interview, or who did you have the best experience with?
Oh, gosh. You had to pull that out as the first question.
I'm starting big here. You better have your coffee. I got mine.
Yeah, I'm not even prepared. Over the course of doing the show, and I had very young, aggressive producers who went after. I always said, I want to get I don't want to talk to somebody about somebody. I don't want to go see a tribute band. I want to go see the real band. So I always prided myself on getting famous people on the air. But I love talking to the old school boxers, Larry Holmes. I asked Larry Holmes, you know who Larry Holmes is?
Oh, yeah.
Heavyweight champ and had a nice, long career. But I asked Larry Holmes if he had a George Foreman grilling machine. And I loved asking famous people cool questions. And Larry Holmes is like, no, I like my burgers juicy. So I always loved talking to the iconic, oddball people. George Takei, I put him on that list because to talk to a guy from Star Trek, I never even watched Star Trek, but yet I'm talking to Sulu. So I thought it took me away from just being a sports nerd and a sports geek. And I always prided myself whenever I got a big name guest, or not even a big name guest, whenever I got a guest, I always tried to find something out about their family or what really makes them tick. I'd find out if their sister was a better athlete than they were. And I used to say, you're not even the best athlete in your family. Your sister's a state champ in the 100-meter dash. And he's like, how'd you know that, man? And what was his, TJ Hushmanzada came on, and he was the Cincinnati Bengal wide receiver. And I said, what's it like to play for the team with the ugliest uniforms in the NFL? And it sparked this whole discussion of us ranking NFL team uniforms. So I had a blast on radio, and I prided myself on being real. I didn't pretend anything. Nothing was an act. I came on in Seattle and said, I'm a Raiders fan. So I took a lot of chances, and some of them weren't very smart, but I have no regrets. I had a great time. And still
Are you really a Raiders fan? Is that for real?
Lifelong. I was 5 years old in the heart of Pennsylvania. There was a player for the Raiders that was from my hometown, and we didn't have any other professional athletes still to this day. And my dad used to take me down to this little cafe, and it had Raider posters and Raider stuff on the wall from a player named Dan Connors. And I was a little 5-year-old watching my dad read the newspaper and drink coffee while I had like 11 Coca-Colas by noon. And I'm like, I like that team because they had Raider helmets on the wall and Raider posters everywhere. And, I could have enjoyed 6 Super Bowl championships as a Steeler fan, but in the end, I'm a Raiders fan and proud of it. And so I'm frustrated and angry, and I ride the wave now.
Yeah. Oh, well,
And
yeah, I
now we
mean,
got your coach, so hopefully he'll win.
you know what? You know what? Good for you. And he just seems like such a great guy. And what a culture shock. I mean, Clint Kubiak passing out Bibles up here, and now he's a Raider. It just doesn't fit in my brain, but I love that. I think it's so
Did he
great.
really do that?
That's what I heard. Yeah, he passed out Bibles to like either the whole team or the whole offense or whatever. Yeah. And then to
And
be a
that
Raider,
quarterback from Indiana, I mean, that kid,
he's
there
something.
isn't a parent in the world that wouldn't adopt that kid. I mean,
Mhm.
Fernando Mendoza, the Indiana quarterback. And I hope the Raiders take him because he's the perfect antidote to Sin City, Las Vegas. That kid will not be distracted by the strip, and we won't have to worry about any issues. And he's hardworking, and I'm infatuated, and I hope it happens.
My wife does not follow football at all, but her favorite player already is him because
Yeah.
of his roots in Miami and being a Cuban descent. She loves that. My wife lived in Miami forever and loves that. So she will be a Raiders fan next year, most likely.
Well,
So I'll have to deal with that.
he seems genuine, and in this day and age, that's hard to find. And he just, I mean, when he speaks, I want to hear what he has to say, and I love his exuberance and all that. But again, maybe I'm just an overly optimistic, hopeful Raider fan that we finally get it right.
Well, the nice thing about the NFL too is the parity. I mean, with the hard salary cap, I think. I mean, any year really, you can be a couple moves away, and I mean, with a good GM and a good coach, you can be right there. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess that's the beauty and the angst built into the NFL for me.
Well, that's what makes the NFL, I think, so popular is you can go from worst to first, like the Patriots almost did. But I just was listening the other day to someone, and I think it was the Diamondbacks they referenced. The two contracts for the Los Angeles Dodgers is more than the entire Arizona Diamondbacks roster. And I'm like, how's that a fair fight? And it isn't. So
It's
baseball, I think, to me, but again, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Minnesota Twins make the playoffs. So maybe there's not as much to it as I think, but we kind of get enamored with those big, gigantic numbers we see thrown out there.
I'm with you on that too. I mean, I actually had a talk with Brock Heward years ago, an opening day of the Mariners. He's like, "Are you all in on the Mariners?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Why not? It's exciting." I'm like, I'll go to games casually. I'm a homie. I'll follow them. But because of that salary cap and looking at what other teams are spending, like when they, this is years ago, but when they make an investment in the team monetarily, I'll make an investment and go into the game and following them the more. Like if they're gonna
Right.
if they're gonna put their money out, I'll put my money out. But other than that, yeah, I'll casually like them. But if they're gonna hold back and not spend, and then just expect me to be some super fan and buy all the gear or whatever, you know what? You do it, I'll do it. That's kind of that's my issue with baseball is
Yeah.
it's fun to casually fun, but I can't get all in if you're not going to spend the money and go after it. And I get it, you can't be probably because you're a small market, but it's that's the beauty to me of the NFL. It gets down to really X's and O's.
I've gone to 11 Raider games in Las Vegas. I spent a lot of money. They're 2-9, and they've
Ah.
suffered some of the most gut-wrenching, silly losses. And I'm like, I'm not going back next year. I'm not going back. I'm
You're
going
gonna,
back.
you're gonna. I love it.
I'm going back.
The only Raider I've ever met is Bill Romanowski. Met him on a flight once.
Oh gosh, that's a bad example of a Raider to meet.
He was and you know what? I
Was he
gotta
nice
tell
to
you,
you?
listen. I gotta paint the whole picture for this. I was walking on board.
I don't. He's like the most. He's almost reprehensible. That guy.
So he was sitting in first class. Walk past him. I sit down. I'm a couple rows behind first class. There was a double booking. Some lady also had his seat in first class. And he just said, "You take it." He jumped up, let her have it. he took his bag out and he went and sat in the back, and he was sitting in the middle in the back. And I thought that was so cool. Like, this
Wow.
man's a sweetheart. He's sitting a couple rows behind me in the middle and just gave up his seat. He's like, oh, I guess it's an issue. Yeah, don't worry about it. You take it. Sat back there. I'm in there napping. The guy next to me nudges me. It's a Super Bowl ring. So people are talking to him. He's passing a Super Bowl ring around.
Wow.
And he was so great. I mean, I saw the past. I saw how he was. I saw when he was on the, allegedly possibly
You
on the
saw him
juice or
when he
not.
got in a fight with a teammate and pulled his helmet off and beat him over the head with it?
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I'll leave my Bill Romanowski stories for another day.
But no, he was a sweetheart on the plane. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. And so maybe he finally, I don't know. Hopefully he
He's
turned a
just
corner.
I mean, Bill Romanowski, I don't know how we ended up talking about Bill Romanowski, but I always said, even when he was on the Broncos and he played for other teams, I said, he's that guy you cannot stand at all unless he's on your team.
100%.
Then he'll defend his teammates and he's a tough guy, but he's one of those guys. I can't stand that guy. He's my least favorite player. Raiders sign Romanowski. Go Bill. You can't. He's one of those guys.
Nice. Okay, I hate to jump back, but you're talking for a second about talking to some of these athletes and busting their balls a little bit, and I love that. I was talking with Charlie Lindgren, goalie for the Capitals. He's a friend of mine, and his brother plays for the Kraken, is a defenseman up here. I was talking to Charlie on my podcast, and so Charlie's a goalie in the NHL. His brother's a defenseman in the NHL, and then they have a third brother who's a fireman in Minnesota. And I was like, and I don't know if Charlie grasped this, but I'm like, your dad must be so proud that he at least has one kid with a real job.
Right.
And it was like, finally, one of my kids made it. He's a freaking fireman, And so I kind of skipped past him a little bit, but no, that's cool. I remember you doing that back in the day. I remember you doing, you being real and honest with people, and that was super cool. And you got the nickname The Fish. I looked this up too. I didn't know that. But it was from filling in for Mitch Levy, correct?
Yeah, well, it came from back in that day, but that I'll give you the super short version because everyone always asks that, but no one wants to go through life being the fish. I mean, but I wanted to be the hammer because Hank Aaron was the hammer, and I'm like Jeff Aaron, I'll be the hammer too. So you try to create your own nicknames, but that doesn't work. But a long story short is, I guess my show was fairly dry and maybe not as entertaining as I had thought it was. And someone said they felt like they were listening to a fishing show, so they were poking fun at me. Oh, when's that fishing show back on? And Mitch was kind of prodding me and poking me, and they started calling me the guy who does the fishing show, and it led to the fisherman. Hey, the fisherman's here. And I walked into FX McCrory's during a big Mariner gathering, and they're like, "Oh, the fisherman's here," and they all started. And I'm like, oh boy, this isn't going to go away. It kept like an avalanche, and then eventually I didn't fight it anymore. And okay, I'm the fisherman, and then it became the fish. But in the end, it's probably one of the best things that's happened to me as far as being a radio personality. Is you're more relatable if you have a nickname, and the fish. And why do they call you the fish? Well, you got to see me at the bar. I drink too much. And it led to a lot of different things. So in the end, I embraced it. And down here in Arizona, and I was only on the radio for a short period of time when I moved here, so no one knows me as a radio guy. But I'm very popular in town because I host all the events. If the Chamber of Commerce has a night out, they hire me as the MC. I do trivia nights. I host bingo nights, and I'll go to the grocery store and people will go, "Hey, fish, it's fish." And it makes me chuckle because up in Washington, and people knew me as the fish from radio, and down here, it's bingo guy or trivia guy, but they still call me the fish. So it's carried on through another generation. So
it's funny you say that. It might not be a name that you would pick, but but I'm a Richard, and so
Yeah.
I had a few nicknames, from that, and so that I did not pick. So,
Yeah, you never in life get to choose your nickname. And another thing about nicknames is when people would call into your show on a regular basis. And I did a lot of radio appearances, so I always got to meet my audience face to face. And then I started getting nervous that these people are taking time to come out and see me, and I don't know their name. And I was so bad at remembering people's names. So I learned over the years to just attach nicknames to everybody. So everyone I would meet, I would find some way to remember them, and whether it was based on their looks or what they were wearing or how tall they were, everybody had a nickname. And then years later, people were offended if they didn't have a nickname, because I once said on radio, if you don't have a nickname, that means I probably don't like you. So then people would say, I don't have a nickname. And I'm like, okay, let's give you a nickname. So everybody from the chameleon to the horniest man in America to Yankee Joe to there's all kinds of people, and everybody had a nickname. The
How cool.
Judge. He's my buddy, the judge. Everyone thought he was a real judge. No, that's the nickname we gave him.
I remember hearing about the judge, and that was not a real judge. Okay,
He's
I'm
not
now
a real
finding this
judge,
out.
and I talked to the judge yesterday on the same kind of format we're talking to on a Zoom phone or whatever, and he's in China with his new bride, and he's sitting on high atop a 34-story building in China, his first time he's ever left America. So, but I'm friends with a lot of the old radio listeners we're still very loyal with each other and still keep in touch.
That's so cool. I mean, how do you guys keep in touch? Do you have calls,
It's
or do you have a
mostly
forum? Or?
phone calls and emails, and I make a point to pick up the phone every couple of weeks, and I try to pick one random person that I haven't talked to like in a long time, and just call them and say, hey, what's going on? And I love when people do the same for me. So
Nice.
every once in a while, it's just nice to touch base with someone from your past.
That's super cool.
Maury, the movie guy, talked to him yesterday.
Nice. That's
People
so cool.
remember the old KRKO show.
Yeah. Anyone? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Yeah. Anyone living up here would. Speaking of nicknames too, years ago I got into a poker game in Dillon, Montana, with ex Major League Baseball player Dick Sharon.
Who?
Dick Sharon.
Dick Sharon.
Dick Sharon. He was with I believe the Giants. I think he was drafted. I think it was the first year that there's an MLB draft, late 60s. But Dick Sharon, Dick Sharon, and thinking, that guy doesn't need a nickname. He needs a nickname. I think any nickname might be better.
I think you just gave him one.
Yeah. So I was sitting there, and he's a grumpy guy, and I'm thinking, you know what? I think if my name was Dick Sharon, I'd be grumpy too. And he was an outfitter. He's sitting there, big Western-looking guy, and we're playing. And then we're just playing like a limit poker or something. And then I won a hand, and the guy across from me, jokingly to me, goes, prick. And I go, well, it's spelled prick, but the P silent. It's just Rick. And Dick Sharon about swallowed his tongue. He started laughing so hard. It's like I released some like middle school demon angst, whatever that he went through. He's like, wait, what'd you just say? What'd you just say? I'm like, yeah, what'd you say? Oh my gosh. Oh. And he gave me this card. He goes, if you ever want to come, fly fishing, come to Montana. It was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Cause he probably saw
he must have took your money in the poker game.
I'm sure he did. Yeah. I'm sure he did. Yeah. Cause growing up, like you have kids like, oh, you're Dick. I'm like, no, my dad was Richard also.
Okay.
Went by Dick. So kids be like, oh, Dick. I'm like, oh, no, that's my dad. I'm Rick. Yeah, that helped a lot. So how'd you get into broadcasting?
When I was I used to stress over in high school. They'd always have career day, and I always thought, what am I going to do with I'm not a handyman. I can't fix cars. I'm not into being an electrician, or I have no handyman trade. And I just always was a sports geek when I was a kid. I just loved sports and watched sports, and and I knew all sports back then. I could tell you who won the Indy 500 and who won all the golf tournaments. And I would reenact NBA games in my basketball court in my backyard. And I just wanted to be in sports my whole life. And I'm from a family of 7, and I'm the second youngest, and my mom kind of sensed I was a little different than the rest of the family, and she kind of selected me as, you're the one that's going to go to college. And I kind of wanted to be a sports writer, and I thought, well, a sports writer sounds like that's what I want to do. And then once I started taking college courses, it struggled mightily in a lot of the English courses, and I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm cut out for this or not. But I did end up being the sports editor of the college newspaper, and I used to write a column predicting football games, and I covered all the college sports. And then I needed to get some extra credit points, and I thought, well, join the local college radio station. And that's when the bug hit me. I'd became part of a college radio station, and it was mostly music, and I was a disc jockey playing music, and that was my other passion in life was music. And so then I asked, "Hey, can I do a sports show on the weekend?" And long before there were ever such thing as sports talk shows, we did a show called, and we came up with the greatest title ever, Talk Sports. And
Cut to the chase.
me and a couple of buddies did a half-hour talk show on sports on Saturday on a music radio station. But the college radio station experience was, and there was a lot of talented people there. We were actually named the college radio station of the year and won like a major award. And there was a lot of people that went on to become famous broadcasters in Pittsburgh and other markets. And I got the bug, and I thought that I'm going to do radio. And when I graduated college, man, I was sending tapes and resumes all over the country, and I bebopped all over the place. I worked in Georgia and Virginia and California and Colorado and even here in Arizona 30 years ago. So the radio bug bit me in college, and I graduated from Clarion University of Pennsylvania, along with John Calipari, the despicable head basketball coach,
Coach
and a
Cal.
few other famous Clarion alums. But that's where I was bitten with the radio bug, and that's the path that I ended up taking.
How cool. Coach Cal. You met him?
Uh, you bring every story I'm going to tell. I'm going to sound like a bitter, angry. I didn't like Coach Cal had kind of a negative relationship with my college roommate, who was a walk-on for the basketball team. And he was a fantastic basketball player. He was so much better than John Calipari. But my roommate didn't make the team, and it was like all politics. And they kind of got in a pushing and shoving match in an intramural basketball game. So we were very anti John Calipari in college. And lo and behold, he has to be the one that goes on and becomes rich and famous. But I did interview him on KRKO, and he is the only guest I ever had. And I think I was on the air there for 17 years, all said and done. He's the only guest that ever had me in advance say, "I won't do the interview unless you send me the questions in advance." And
Really?
I know you don't like that.
No.
And he's the only guy, and I reluctantly agreed. And I interviewed him, and it went fine, and we brought up some old memories and stuff. But he was not on my list of favorite interviews.
No, I guess not.
Yeah, this is going to be awful. By the way, I'm going to take a sip of coffee out of a Chicago Bears mug.
Love it. Blending lines.
I'm worried that someone in your neighborhood is going to bust me on this. I stayed at the hotel, when I visited Seattle and Everett. I stayed at the hotel right next door to the Irishman there on Colby Avenue in Everett. I forget if it's a Hyatt or whatever the hotel is. And I stayed in the room there, and there was a brand new Bears coffee mug still with the price tag on it. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do with it. So I started using it, and now it's my favorite coffee mug, but I'm not a Bears fan.
It's a sign. Yeah, no.
Yes.
Blending some lines. So speaking of college days, like I went to this, I barely, limped into Western Washington University, and I was a broadcast major. I know it's hard to tell, but not to brag, Fish, but I was told pretty early on in the broadcasting department that I definitely have a face for radio.
A face for radio. Now, you're a handsome guy, but do you wear hats every day?
Not a lot, because the hair has been going down pretty quick, and so I wear it kind of right now, but so I try to like let the head breathe when I can. I'm trying to keep my last 3 hairs.
Well, it's funny. I have like probably 300 hats. I have obscure hockey hats. I have like tons of, my whole closet full of hats. And I wear a hat when I golf. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, see, give it up. You got to go full.
I know.
You got to go.
I'm in denial. I
remember the first time that I completely shaved my head. I thought everyone would notice. I was like, oh my God. Because I was obviously, you get teased when your hair, so you start losing your hair. But the first time that I went the full thing, and I went to work, and I thought everyone was going to notice and everyone was going to laugh at me. And I walked in, and not one person even took a second glance. I didn't have much hair to start with, but I thought that I had hair. But I didn't. And once I shaved completely, not one person noticed. And I've never
you have a good head for it. It's natural. Like I feel like, I feel like I'm not blessed with the hair or the right head for having no hair.
Yeah. not all bald men look alike. You get a lot of jokes from people. A lot of people relate to bald guys. Hey, we got the same hairdo. You hear, you walk into the grocery store. We got the same hairdo. So us bald brothers all stick together.
So you mentioned golf. So you're living in Arizona, the dream. Are you able to get out much golfing?
I played not as much as I want. I'm still very busy. I do work. I work 4 or 5 nights a week yet, but it's not really work. I mean, again, I'm hosting trivia nights and hosting bingo nights, but I don't like playing golf on days I have to work. When I play golf, I want it to be a relaxing day. I don't want to be cluttered that I got to hurry up and get done and get in my car. So I pick and choose when I play golf very carefully. And there are so many beautiful courses down here. They get very expensive around this time of the year when it's beautiful like this in the middle of February. But yeah, I do play. I have a rotation of about 7 or 8 courses, and I have certain pockets of friends that I call my golf friends. We're not everyday buddies. We don't talk on the phone, but it's like, hey, Blaze, what day you want to play? Well, let's play Tuesday. But and strangely, I'm going to brag right now. I'm a much better golfer now than I've ever been in my life. I don't know why, and I think it's all attitude and confidence, but I hit the golf ball better than I ever have. I shoot lower scores than I did when I was 30, 40 years old. So for all of you that took all my money golf, be careful the next time you play me.
I love it. I love it.
You might be surprised.
I'm not golfing with you. I'm not golfing for money with you. Tell me about your so in the Northwest, you didn't go to Wazoo, but you're a Wazoo fan. Is that true?
Well, I when I moved to Seattle at first, I had no connection to either school, but I had to deal with. I was there right when the whole Don James, right after the whole Don James fiasco, and Don stepped down and Lambright took over, and it was kind of a dark time there for Washington, and there was a friend of mine that worked at Cairo that ended up getting the rights to the broadcast, Dave Iverson, Broadcast Inc. He started a company, and he got the rights to the Hawaii Rainbows, and he got the rights to the Washington State Cougar broadcast. And he sensed I was a young broadcaster who wouldn't be very expensive to hire, and asked if I wanted to be part of the broadcast team, and the games were carried on Cairo. So I became a Washington State Cougar, and he hired me to do like the pregame show and the halftime show and the postgame talk show. So I became part of the Cougar Network, and ended up, I think I did 8 or 9 years. So I went to every Cougar game, and then my son, I took my son to a lot of games. He loved Washington State. He ended up going there and graduated from Washington State. But I had very strong connection to Washington State for those 8 or 9 years. And you get that by traveling every weekend with the team, and you're on airplanes together, and you're at hotels together, and Mike Price was a dear friend at Bill Doba, and made a lot of great connections. And there's something special about Washington State. It's different than any other school. You go to Washington State, it's like you're part of a cult. You get it. It's a different feeling. It's a different understanding. Maybe they have that at Western. I kind of think Western's kind of a cool place, but there's a closeness about Washington State. And anytime I see anyone, whether it's an airport or grocery store, anything with a Washington logo on, go Cougs. And you do the fist bump or whatever. There's something, the water's different over in Pullman. It's probably beer, but there's something different about Washington State, and it's a close bond. And while, they're not one of my core teams, but I still root for them and everything. And Tony Bennett was one of my favorite radio guests of all time too, the basketball coach, and his father, Dick Bennett. Those were, if you ask me, favorite interviews of all time. Tony Bennett could be possibly right up there in the top 5.
Why is that?
Because he was very genuine and very open and very honest and easy to talk to. And he pulled off one of my favorite moments on radio. Was I was going to the Cougar Husky basketball game with a friend of mine, Carolyn Ladd, she's a former Miss Oregon and very prominent Washington lawyer, and she loved her Huskies, and she knew I was a Coug. And we went to the game, and we were doing the winner of the game the other person would have to wear the other team's colors to the next game. So the Cougars won. So Carolyn had to go to a Washington Husky basketball game wearing a Cougar shirt and a Cougar hat. And she was mortified by it. And I had Tony Bennett on, and I told him the story. And he goes, let me call her. So Tony, I give her phone number off the air, and Tony Bennett calls Carolyn's phone and leaves a message. Carolyn, welcome to the Coug Nation. We love you, and thanks for being a Cougar. We appreciate your support, and left her this great message. And it was just a very funny little practical joke, but that's the kind of guy Tony was. He was very genuine, and he would come on the air with me if the Washington State's basketball season was over. I called him my NCAA March Madness expert. He would just come on and break down all the games, never asked for any money, volunteered to come on the air, and highly successful, but he just carried himself in a way that I always appreciated.
How cool. What's he doing now?
Well, I think he's golfing. He stepped down from Virginia so suddenly and so quickly. He's good friends with Steve Stricker, the PGA Tour golfer. So I imagine and Tony's a real good golfer too. So he's probably out playing golf. Nice. And now Kelvin Sampson is the toast of the town in Houston. I used to play golf with him when he was the Cougar coach. We were in a couple of those Cougar Classic golf tournaments together. And now he hasn't won a national title yet, but boy, he's knocking on the door every year. So a lot of close ties from those Washington State years.
It's a great school. I hate to admit it because I grew up being a Husky fan, and but a friend of ours, I know, come on, friends of ours, I know, friends of ours, son plays. He's a tight end for the Cougs, and that's super cool. And my dear friend, coworker, Coug. I mean, it is bonding. I think going over there, it's like you're on an island. You're in the middle of being in the middle of the Palouse like that. You are on an island. I think that's what creates a lot of that camaraderie. It's kind of like us against the world. You mentioned Western. We didn't have great or even good sports up there, but you have you go up to Mount Baker, you can go up to San Juans, you can go up into Canada, you go down to Seattle and home, and so there wasn't the same community or camaraderie, I think, and so I think that helps a lot. I think that with Wazoo, it's so cool how they bond.
Well, it's my son's very proud. He still has he lives in San Diego now, and he's got a lot of friends, and they all stay in touch. And again, they develop lifelong friendships there, and I just think it's a special place.
Yeah, it really is.
I love this story. Jim Walden, the football coach, Jim Walden, he coached at Washington State and coached at Iowa State, and he's in his 80s now. He cuts the trivia out of the local newspaper every day, gets scissors, cuts out the little trivia box, puts it in an envelope, collects about 20 or 30 of them, and throws them in the mailbox. So about every 3 or 4 weeks, I get a letter in the mail from Jim Walden with a bunch of trivia questions, because I still I sit at this computer every day writing trivia questions, and I get questions in the mail from Jim Walden, and my girlfriend goes, "Oh, he's so sweet. He's so sweet." And I'll send Jim a note and say, "Thank you." And we'll talk football for a little bit, but he's another genuine article, Jim Walden, another one of my favorite all-time guests of all time, because, he would just call it as he sees it. And I like guys like that.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. Okay. Here's a trivia for you. And I think this is true, but when, is it ever okay for an NFL team to have 12 players on the field during play?
Is this a riddle or
No, it's true. And I believe it's true. And I haven't verified it, but I've heard it's true.
During no, I think I've just heard this. You're going to trick me on this one.
So obscure. And if I can stump you, I will be so happy.
It's a drop kick or whatever they call it. It's not not during the onside kick. As soon as you tell me, I'm going to say, "Oh, that's right."
I could be full of crap. I haven't verified this, but I believe it's true. It's they can bring someone out to hold the ball during kickoffs when it's windy,
That's right.
and they have to get immediately off the field.
That is correct.
And I'm a lifer.
Darn it, I'm great at writing trivia. I'm just not great at remembering trivia.
It's obscure. All right, Pearl Jam's the name Pearl Jam's band name before it was Pearl Jam.
Mookie Blaylock.
Love that, right? That's so cool.
Do you remember Stump the Band on KJR? Yeah. I used to do quite well on that back in the day, and I frustrated a lot of listeners who thought they were going to win a free T-shirt, but they didn't.
I remember that. Yeah, you were the man. You still are.
Yeah, people could call in, and as long as it was a legitimate question, and Mitch used to give me the credit. He called me Mr. Trivia and all that, but Mitch was very good at trivia too. So we were very formidable back then for Stump the Band, because Mitch was very good at trivia, and I held my own, and we did very good at surprising people when they thought they could pull a fast one on us. But
I
I'm not so sure I'm good at it anymore. I'm getting old.
No, no, no. I remember that. I remember, yeah. So I got to go back to the Huskies real quick, just because I know, I have to do this to you. But my neighbor 2 doors down is Jason Chorak.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, 2 doors down. I could throw a rock at his house. I don't, because he's bigger than me, a lot bigger. But
let's
yeah,
go
he's
egg his house.
I know he's a great guy, great neighbor. And then I was just talking a couple days ago. We were at a Husky basketball game, because I had Abdul Gadi on the podcast here,
Right.
and he's become a friend, and had Damon Heward on.
Okay.
And then so I went to the game. Abdul, we had a couple tickets. We were a guest of his, and then saw Damon sitting across the way. I'm texting him pictures of him, and he was sitting there with Chris Peterson. So I got to meet Chris Peterson real quick the other day.
Oh yeah,
Nice guy. And then Patrick Chun,
he's
AD.
one of the greats.
Very nice guy. Yeah, seemed like a very nice guy. And actually, it was funny at halftime. Again, back to my low hair count. I bought a Husky hat. Like I went to just the restroom at halftime, and I just bought a Husky hat, and I came down there. And after the game, talking to Damon, met Chris, and he goes, "I like your hat." And I go, "I just bought it at halftime. I'm such a poser, but thank you."
Your head was getting cold.
It was, yeah, exactly.
Those
I saw you guys with your great hair.
I was very fair with Washington guys on my show, and Dave Hoffman and James Clifford. They would come out and play in a thing I used to do called the Apple Bowl, where I'd have Huskies compete against Cougars in games and things like that. But Mario Bailey, he made probably 4 or 5 years in a row, made an Apple Cup appearance with me up at the Angel of the Winds Casino. And I got to know a lot of that. Cam Cleland, we went into business together for a short period of time. He was a good friend for a long time. And, that I tease that Husky team, the undefeated. I call them the co-national champions, and I pick on them a little bit, but that was a great football team, one of the best I've ever seen. No question about it.
That was a great team, and that was around the time. So my dad was a pilot. He flew for Alaska Airlines career, and he was senior, and so he got to pick up a lot of those charters, and he'd fly the Seahawks quite a bit.
Yeah.
He loved flying the Seahawks. He thought they were just nice kids. I met this nice kid, named Steve Largent. Like, he catches the ball. My dad wasn't a sports guy at all, but just met these nice kids. I'm like, "Wait, Steve Largent?" Yeah, I met Jim Zorn. And oh yeah, I just had Jim Zorn on too. And it's funny because he used to talk to my dad in the cockpit. But my dad would fly the Seahawks around, and back then, 80s, 90s, they weren't that good. And people would start to just kind of like joke with my dad about, like, maybe you're bad luck because you fly them when they're not winning. And
Yeah, I don't want a pilot as a bad luck.
Exactly. He's like, yeah, and he's, he wasn't following them much, but he's kind of like, I just don't, know if they're that good, but maybe. And so to prove them, kind of to prove them wrong, as a joke, he flew the Huskies right after that national championship season, co-national championship season. He's going to show everybody, like, hey, here, this is a slam dunk. We flew him down to Arizona, and it was their first loss.
Oh.
It was like early 90s, right? Yeah, and they're like, no more. You can't do this anymore. Yeah.
You and your dad have much more important jobs than sportscasters and football players being a pilot.
You know what? There's a lot of pilots. I mean, listen, I love it, and it's great, and it's fun. And, basically, I joke, like, our job is just to not crash. But you know what? It's fun doing it. But like, listen, being a sportscaster, I mean, you're meeting interesting people, doing interesting things. You're who we're listening to driving in and driving back or whatever, and it's so much fun. And especially back then, you and I were chatting a little bit earlier, kind of pre-internet. That was how we found out things. Unless you got the newspaper, you got the PI, the Seattle PI in the morning, or the Times in the afternoon, which I used to deliver both of them when I was a kid. That was it. And so you listen, like, how was the game last night? How was it? And it was so cool, and to hear the, like, I guess kind of the spice you guys would put on it too. The stump the band, different things like that. It was hearing these segments.
I kind of thought
it became family.
I felt very fortunate. I think, and again, it's different. And all us old folks will say, "Oh, back in my day, it was so much better." It's just we experienced it differently than how people experience today. I don't listen to sports talk radio all that much. I enjoy the Colin Cowherd show very much,
Yeah.
and I'll listen to that for 15, 20 minutes a day. I catch a couple of segments, but, you know, being on KJR in the mid to late 90s during the 95 Mariners and all that, and when Holmgren came to town, and it was kind of a glory period. It was before we became too focused on cell phones and internet and everything else. So I think we were the last. We were the last vestige of 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 a time that no longer exists. And there's still a connection with sports talk, and you're doing your podcast and stuff. So it's that connection's still there. I'm getting harassed by a fly. Um, there's always going to be that connection you have with someone that you feel comfortable listening to. They become like they're your friend, and I get it. And I had my guy Bob Prince and Bill King were my favorite play-by-play guys, and you felt like you knew them, and they were part of your growing up. And I get that connection, and I think it still exists today. It's just different.
It is different, but you know what? Yeah, it was definitely a connection. Like, I'd feel like, I mean, here I just met you today, and, I felt like I, kind of knew you. Like, I feel like, and I probably couldn't have picked you out of a crowd. They couldn't pick Mish out of a crowd, um, but it was so cool, and it was comforting, and you get in your car and you drive somewhere for a half hour, 45 minutes, and you just hear that, or driving to school and just hear it, and it was so, um yeah, it was like an extension. It was people that were talking about your local sports teams and local interests
Yeah.
and and doing it in a fun way, and, it was a real
Well, I
gift
don't know
that
that
you
everyone
have,
did
and
it the same way, but I know for me, some of it was financially driven, but with KJR, they're like, "Who wants to go to Car Toys on Saturday and do a 3 hour remote and you get paid for it?" But I'm like, "I'll do it," and enjoyed doing it, and the rest of the guys didn't like it as much as I did, so I did all of them. So I would be I would be at the mall on Saturday and Car Toys on Sunday, and even when when I went up to Everett and had to sort of forge my own identity up there, I did every show live at Sporty's Beef and Brew, and then I'd go to the Flying Pig, and I did a live show in a swimming pool outside a car dealership. So, and I was on the ice, doing the ice announcing at Silvertips game. So I was always in the public, and I always met everyone. I was just really open, and I hustled a lot, so I've met everybody. So it's not necessarily great to know every one of your radio listeners because there's only a couple of dozen, but you never really know how many people are listening out there. And I wasn't a big believer in rating, so I never really ever paid attention to that. I was just there to have fun. I said I would do the same show in Everett that I did if I worked in New York City. I wasn't going to change who I was or what I did. I thought if I'm having a great time and having fun, then maybe it's fun to listen to. So I never really took myself all that serious. I did work hard. I make no apologies for that, but I enjoyed the heck out of it.
well, definitely fun to listen to, and you could always tell that you enjoyed the heck out of it too, because it was a gift, and you're a natural. And I mean, I know that probably being a natural was based on a lot of hard work also, but is it natural? Came across very natural and very connecting with people, and I
Well,
think it's
when you spend your whole life, as a passion for something. Now, I would say that now I'm so big into music now. I collect vinyl records, and spend way too much money on vinyl records, but I go to record stores and it reminds me of my childhood. I used to love to go to the record store and just filter through all the albums and look at the covers, and now I still do. So I go to record conventions. If I travel to another city, the first thing I do is look up where the local record stores are, and I love that vinyl's made a big comeback, but I probably that I probably spend more time. I watch very little television anymore. If the TV's on, it's watching sports, and more often than not, I'm putting a record on and just tootling around the house and listening to albums. But I have about a collection of about 3,000 vinyl records, and when I came here, I probably had a couple hundred. So
good
I put a
Lord.
lot of effort and time into collecting vinyl records. I love progressive rock music. I love those old school English bands from the '70s, and it's that's my new thing now.
What's the last album you listened to?
Last album I listened to would be on my turntable right now, a band called Budgie.
Nice.
Budgie. They were kind of a hard rock band. and they predated Black Sabbath. I think kind of Black Sabbath kind of stole Budgie's sound, Ozzy and the gang, and made it their own. They released about 8 albums, and they're all really, really good. But that would be the last. That's on my turntable right now. Is I was listening last night to Budgie, and there's
Love it.
several Budgie records.
I will go.
Budgie, Budgie.
I will go listen to Budgie. I just met the other day really quickly down in Melbourne, Australia. I was down there for a work trip and met in the elevator Stuart Copeland.
Oh, really? He's one of my favorites.
Yeah, he's great.
I love the way he would be if I was doing what you're doing right now.
Mhm.
If I was doing podcasting and interviewing people, I would like, how can I get Stuart Copeland on?
I know.
He's a guy that speaks the truth. He airs all the dirty laundry of the police, and I love his reggae, his drum techniques. He's one of my all-time favorite drummers. I like
He's so
Stuart
good.
Copeland.
He's so good, and he is outspoken, and he's very honest. And
He'll
met him
give you all
very
the
quick.
dirt on Sting.
I know, right? Let's hear it. I think Andy Summers aired a lot of it on his documentary he did a few years ago. But
So you
yeah,
probably in your travels, you get like, I need to hang out with you. I want to go to Australia. That's the last place that I think I want to travel to that I haven't been to yet.
the people are amazing there. The people really stand out as being amazing, and it's beautiful. You go to Sydney. I love Melbourne myself, and it's not a gorgeous city, but it reminds me of Seattle. To me, Melbourne looks like and feels like how Seattle should be, or how Seattle used to be. It's cool.
Right.
It's artsy, kind of funky. They have a similar weather, and but cleaner. And I like it. But the people are amazing down there. You would love the people in Australia.
When you fly, do you fly to the same places over and over again, or you get to go?
We go all over the place, but we're down in Melbourne quite a bit. We have another one coming up here in a
Do
while.
you get time to spend and stay, or is it mostly just work here and there and go back?
Yeah,
and forth?
usually 'cause we fly. It's a private jet, so we fly our boss. So usually when he goes somewhere on a trip like that, he's there for a few days and for a
Okay.
bit. And so we'll get to a lot of it is just readjusting from the jet lag and trying to get back in a normal sleep for a little while. Then you get back on the plane and go all the way back and just usually after a few days in either direction, you're pretty fuzzy trying to catch up on sleep. But
What's the worst thing for a pilot to face? Wind, rain, fog? What are the conditions that you like the least?
yeah, probably crosswinds are never fun, especially gusting crosswinds or
Yeah.
when you're landing aren't fun. Um, I guess you don't have times where like this time of year where you get like a freezing fog or like ice pellets. That's tough because it just grounds you because even with de-ice you can't go anywhere.
You're flying a big corporate jet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then en route probably we spend a lot of time going to Africa, like South Africa, and like Maldives, and we'll do like I said, Australia. And so equatorial, when you're flying past the equator, you get a lot of these big buildups. In the summer we get them over the U.S., but usually you can get around them or pick through the tops of them if you can get high enough. But down there, I guess being out over the equator somewhere over the ocean, you're out of radar environment, you're barely talking to a controller, they don't have any radar, and you're trying to figure that out yourself. And sometimes at night over the middle of Africa, sky's lighting up, you see stuff and you're trying to figure out your path through it, and it's already going to be an 11-hour flight. That's where sometimes you get a little heightened, like finding the best, safest route through it. And so probably that.
That's a lot of responsibility. I don't want it.
Nah, it's fine. It's fine. All right. So, hey, I got to ask you, I asked all my guests, what does contentment mean for you? Especially now where you are right now, living in the desert. And honestly, I saw your pool back there in the palm tree. And for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll see that. But yeah, what's contentment look like for Jeff Aaron?
I like trying to avoid the noise of. I mean, there's a lot of hate in this world and the social media. While I engage in it, and sometimes I go to bed at night and I'm filled with angst because I'm in a fight with someone over politics or sports or whatever the case may be, and it leaves me with such a negative feeling of anxiety. I can't even sleep. So I appreciate more than anything when I can, sit here in my backyard. I have a Bluetooth speaker and I can put on a favorite record and pour myself a drink and just sit poolside on a beautiful sunny day. I'm a sun worshiper. I love Arizona's climate, and I can sit in 110-degree weather all day, every day, and I'm very content when it's nice and quiet and I'm poolside and I just got my music on. I ride my bike a lot. I like riding my bike. There's a nearby lake, and I'll cruise by that lake, and I'll stop at the gym and work out a little bit. But it's the little routines in life that from morning coffee to poolside to riding my bike to the gym. Those are the things I enjoy the most. I enjoy a little alone time and being quiet, and that's kind of a daily routine for me.
Good for you. Well, you earned it. You deserve that.
Well,
Good for you.
whether I did or didn't, I'm doing it.
Well, Jeff, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. And it's funny because you led with, I don't know why you're having me on the show. Anybody listening right now has heard exactly why you're on the show, because you were very interesting, great experiences. I know we've only just touched the surface of it, but
Right.
I really appreciate you being willing to do this and coming on, and I know that the people listening are going to love it.
Well,
So thank you so much.
who doesn't like talking about themselves? But actually, I really don't. But I like when I can meet someone that's easy to talk to. And again, I feel, me and you aren't sharing emails and phone calls every day. I feel like I know you, and you're a guy that's easy to talk to. And I hope maybe someday we do get to hang out. So
Let's
thank
do
you
it.
for
I want to
having
have
me.
a drink down by in the sun down there. Let's do it. I'll bring a little bottle of bourbon and.
You are more than welcome.
Yeah. So, hey, Jeff, thanks again and everybody listening. Thank you so much, and please share this. Please follow, like, and we're now on YouTube. Just got on YouTube. We're little fledglings over there, but YouTube. So please subscribe on there. Really appreciate it. But anyways, thank you so much. God bless everyone listening. God bless you, Jeff. You are an amazing man.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Enjoy the sun, and we'll talk soon.
You got it. Cheers.
Cheers.